Hi, this is Ken McCarthy. I'm the author of What the Nurses Saw. We are marking our our first anniversary of the publication of our book. And I'm happy to say that people are getting the message. It continues to sell, and we get messages from people almost every day. Uh, a film has come out that is extremely important, that is a perfect companion to our book. It's called Vaxxed 3. As people who know our book know, we focused on the testimony of the nurses in the hospitals and what they saw. Vax 3 focuses on the families, the survivors, and people that managed to get out of the hospitals alive, and there weren't many that did. This is an extremely important film. And here's a little bit of information about it. And at the end, we're going to have a link where you can go to watch it. And I urge you to not only watch the film, but talk it up, let people know about it. This is a very important film. Between our book, What the Nurses Saw, and this film, Vax 3, this is the only good documentation of the mass murder that took place in US hospitals and elsewhere in the world during the COVID panic. And many millions of people have firsthand experience with what happened. They're not being listened to. And our book and this film are really the only way people are going to find out.
I was expecting a lot of COVID vaccine injuries, I think. We'd already kind of seen some of that working in this space, but what I didn't expect was the hospital protocol deaths. I remember the first week I came on the bus, I was just sitting there in shock. I was going back to our hotel room every night after we tell stories and crying my eyes out because I'd never seen people experiencing that much pain. And they were losing their loved ones, they're losing their husbands, their wives, their children, and it wasn't a slow thing, it wasn't a quick thing, it was a slow progression of being tortured. And it almost seemed like it was intentional. Some of the things that they were saying about being slandered for being unvaccinated, or the cruel treatment that they had. I just didn't expect for everyone to say the same exact thing. They all came on, they all told the same exact story, and all these commonalities started rising out of it. And at first I was wondering, okay, well, maybe some of these people, their loved one just died of COVID and they can't accept what happened, and so they're picking apart all these things that happen in the hospital. But whenever one person after the next comes in and says the same exact thing, you really start wondering, did these people really die of COVID? I don't think so. I think the hospitals actually killed them, and it was for money. And I think that's something that, to admit that to yourself, you think, okay, these people do things out of negligence, but this just seemed almost like it was intentional. A lot of the people also talked about palliative care and how the hospital comes in and the staff are basically pressuring them to almost euthanize. I remember one woman in particular talked about making food for her loved one, and he was having trouble charging his phone, so she brought an extension cord to the hospital, and a change of clothes and some of the things he liked. And after he passed away, in the corner of his hospital room, the bag had just sat there and it was full of rotten food. And the first time I heard that, I was shocked. But then more and more people came and told that same story of bringing stuff to their loved ones and never making it to them denying them the food that they had prepared at home, and then once again not feeding them in the hospital either. And it was very clear, once again, the abuse of the unvaccinated. Yeah, I remember there was a doctor who was killed in his own hospital that he worked at. And he had been kind of known for not wanting to get the shot. And so even his own colleagues and people that worked in the hospital with him who had known him for years and respected him for years in the past, they would say horrible things to him. You deserve to die. This is what you get for being an anti-vaxxer. This is what happens when you don't get vaccinated. You die. And the reality is that they were, in my eyes, they were killing these people to blame it on the unvaccinated.